The Dale Show. All right, there we go.
Sick.
Fuck it. As soon as I hit record, my mind's just like
Shuts right off. Yeah.
Yeah. Just like the static from, remember when TVs used to have a signal?
Yeah.
And it was like that's
Yeah.
like my brain.
Television snow.
Yeah. Oh, I just a quick update from last episode. I wanted to say that the guys that me and Jeff referenced on our podcast, because we listened to 2 of their podcasts, they commented underneath the video on YouTube, and I was very pleased, and they cleared up that it was in fact a male monkey and a female goat. It was the divine feminine.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Man, so I noticed that too. First off, welcome to the Dale Show, the place for the #1 podcast for conspiracy adjacent appreciation on the internet.
Conspiracy enthusiasm.
Conspiracy enthusiasts on the internet.
For some reason, I still say the word conspiracy, which is the tainted word and you should never say. But I feel like if I don't say theory and I say enthusiast, it makes it better.
Yeah.
But I think it's just because I am an enthusiast. Jesus.
Did your coaster just get stuck to your drink?
Yeah, I'm drinking.
That
scared the shit out of me
Yeah,
because I said the word conspiracy, and then I thought I just got.
Yeah,
I thought I got shot through my computer by the government.
Yeah, they did. They shot you through your camera lens.
Yeah, no, I'm drinking apple cider because that's what I was drinking last time, and yeah, I figured. So why not?
I don't know if you noticed this or not. There were 89 views on Bock Saga 1.
I know, dude. We were almost famous.
This close.
And the wildest thing was the guys that I was talking about, we referenced from the Deep Share podcast. They're like, hey, if you want us to come on. I was like, fuck, I'll make you regret that.
Yeah.
And I was
like,
yeah, come on. But I guess either they lost interest because they realized how small the show was, or they couldn't work it out
communicating with you,
or they're still waiting to get back to me, because it was going to have to be done at like 11 a.m. on a Sunday or something, because one of the guys lives in Sweden. And I was like, fuck, I'll do it. Whatever. I don't care. I'll blow a family meeting.
Whatever.
Family dinner will be blown apart.
Yeah. Whatever you have to do to get on there. That's pretty cool, man. I couldn't believe the sheer volume of engagement on that. Like, there was a brief minute where I was like, are people seriously
is this
watching this?
Yeah, I get it.
I'm gonna get fired from my job now.
I get it though. Bock Saga is enthralling, and like I said in the first episode, it feels like it connects everything, and that's especially going to be what we're talking about in this episode, because it ties so much other stuff in. Because the first one, like the pre-ice Atlantis, all land is ice breaking down, it was kind of just like theory and stuff. But the second one, where the people leave Helsinki and go out to the 10 tribes, is where everything just kind of
it's a little wild,
wiggles its way together.
Ooh,
and I did endeavor to do some last minute research by watching other podcasts, but
that's the way to do it.
I just got annoyed and turned them off, because I was one of the dudes who commented on our first video has a YouTube site, but all of the videos on that YouTube site are from the 90s, when they didn't realize that microphones pick up background noise. And
oh no,
I was watching this one, and it was like an interview with Eeyore Bock, and they had like a mic on a table in front of them, and they're sitting in front of a fireplace. So the whole time there's like a
oh man.
And I was like, I can't do this. Nobody should be allowed to do. And then I watched this other one where it was actually a pretty good one. The guy was talking about it, but he didn't cover much. He just kind of made fun of all the parts, like we did.
Like we did,
like how Eeyore was inbreded.
Yeah, but they didn't say anything
pretty heavily.
Inbreded.
Yeah. But he did point out one thing that I missed.
What's that?
Remember when we briefly touched on the sperms and how it was the seed of God. Apparently, Eeyore Bock auto-filleted himself not to waste the sperm because they had to drink it to keep like the special, I guess, seasoning from God and make themselves more virile.
Man, that's how come we never use that line growing up? Hey, you want to taste my seasoning from God?
That's good.
Let me sprinkle that on for you.
We're building a time machine, Jeff. We're getting young us laid.
Oh my god. No, young Jeff, it doesn't need it.
Actually, all we have to do is send that one word through one sentence through the radio waves, like make sound go back through time.
That's right. There we go. Man, that whole thing. Yeah, the last time I heard anything about autofellation was the Marilyn Manson murders in the 90s. So yeah, it's been some time. I don't know.
Yeah, when they're like, Marilyn Manson got rid of his bottom 2 ribs so he could suck himself off, and you're just like, is that an expensive surgery?
Yeah. How much are we? Is that covered under medical in Canada? Is that
because I'd try it. I'm a young dude.
Is it like looking up the family plan? How much ribs cost to remove?
And the funny thing, hearing about Eeyore Bock explaining how he auto-filleted himself didn't gross me out, didn't whatever. Like, of course it's gross. It's gonna leave a bad taste in your mouth.
Notes.
And you'll probably you'll probably get like nauseous if you eat too much of your own, you know what. But he said that he crossed his legs behind his own head and like bent over, and I was like, that would just hurt my neck. Yeah. And then I just had like old man thoughts about how it would physically hurt my body.
He was a little skinny dude though too, right?
Like, that's true.
Like I've been exercising basically my whole life, and I got a little belly going because I'm an old man. And I stretch all the time, like every day, and I still can't get all the way down to touch. Like I can touch my toes and I can reach down and I can grab the balls of my feet when I'm sitting and stuff. So I have enough flexibility to get down. There's no way I can
show us Jeff from the back.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Split my pajama shorts wide open.
I feel if you were sustaining yourself off your own jizz, you would lose a little bit of weight and be skinnier.
Probably. I mean, but see, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. I got to get down there.
I'm not a nutritionist.
Yeah, my macros are off the chart this week.
Just start by putting it in a cup.
No, that's not doing that.
I guess you can't. The secret is you can't let it touch air.
I live in my. Oh, is that the secret?
No, I'm just making that up on why we couldn't just jerk off in a cup and drink it.
I live in a house with people who are always around. I can't even make the time for.
That's true.
For that. It's terrifying.
Plus, if you were to ever hurt yourself and your son found you, he would need therapy for life, and you don't want to do that to him.
Just naked at the bottom of the bed with a broken neck. Oh, no, nothing.
Yeah, because you were doing it and you rolled off and landed on your neck.
Don't tell your mother. Just go. Yeah. Just call an ambulance and never speak of this again. I can't move my arm because my neck is broken. So, yeah, I can't feel anything from the waist down, which is a tragedy at this point.
Yeah,
that's not gonna happen. I just have this is water. It's pure water. There's no jizz in here that I'm wearing.
Good. Oh, you know what? I didn't cut and paste my notes properly.
Oh, I don't have my Dale Show mug today. I apologize. I used it for coffee this morning, so
you're off the show.
Fuck. You make one non-Dale Show mug appearance, and that's the end of that.
Okay, wait.
So what happened to your notes? You just don't have your Wikipedia tabs open to read off of?
No, because remember how we like stopped halfway through?
Yeah, we did.
I was gonna take where we'd stopped to put it up for the next episode.
I see.
I'll just start where we are.
Start
in my notes. Into it. I found the spot. Cool. Okay. I might cut that out, or I might forget, and you guys will just get a peek behind the curtain.
It's not the end of the world. It'll be cool. Yeah. How the sausage is made.
Oh, question. Sorry for the click. That's okay. Yeah, sorry for the click, audience. I know how much annoying that is for me when people click their mouth before they talk. It's so funny because I have all these like things that I listen to when I'm listening to podcasts. And I'm just like, oh my God, I hope I don't do that on my podcast. I might be mortified. It's like, I don't even care if I ever get famous from this. It's if I make mouth noises when I talk, it will kill me inside.
You just don't want that to happen. You don't want that mouth noises thing. You're not an ASM artist. You're simply Dale doing a podcast.
Yeah, people be like, I listened to your show and I wasn't into it. And I was like, that's fine. I don't care if you like it or not. But did I make mouth noises?
Did I make mouth noises? Like, hi Dale, I really enjoy your show. It helps me relax and go to sleep at night as I listen to the smacking of your. No, I quit the podcast. I'm out. Yeah, this is an ASMR channel now, everyone.
It's like, it's funny because there's like how some people are about their disgust for feet. That's my disgust for ASMR.
Dude, I love ASMR and I hate feet. That's where I'm at with this.
Dude, do you
ASMR.
think that's like a thing? It's like
it's the reverse. You're one or the other.
Yeah, like it's mutually exclusive. You can only like one or the other. That'd be hilarious.
I find feet to the extent that I find feet disgusting. My neighbor friend who is awesome.
Yeah.
Lisa, she sends me Instagram feet things when people do stuff with their feet. She sends it to me and laughs. And I'm like, you fucking son of a bitch. I hate feet stuff so much. Like, she sent this picture of people interlocking toes. They're like, I wish we could embrace like this. And I'm like, fucking
yeah.
No.
Or like people eating spaghetti with their feet.
Nope, absolutely not. Just absolutely not. So now you all know my secret like thing I hate the most in the world. And it's definitely feet.
That's the real reason that Jeff is disgusted as your Bock sucked himself was because his toes touched the back of his head. It's not even the dick in the mouth, it's the feet on the head.
The feet on the head is gross. I'm like, you know what feet are? They're the devil's hands.
That is such a funny saying. You should get that on a t-shirt.
I should. That'll be my new Redbubble thing. It's just like a devil with foot hands.
There you go. And then fucking some overly woke person will tell you you're not allowed to have that because some people don't have arms. And then they'll like try to make you feel bad. And then you'll be like, you know what? Feet are still gross.
My friend had to have his feet implanted from his feet to his hands. So
really?
He could hold pencils. No, I'm just saying that somebody would comment that. Something they had like a hand foot. I think I actually knew somebody who had a big toe, like big toes put onto their
I've heard of that.
For that, but like
clasp.
I feel like so here's the distinction. I feel like someone who has that particular surgery wouldn't gross me out because that's functional and you can wash your hands. Like nobody washes their feet. Like
enough.
At all.
People
or at
wash
all.
their feet.
I know. People
soap
wash their
exists. Feet. It's a thing in the world.
after my son comes out of the bathroom, hey, did you wash your feet in there? No, I did. Why would I do that? They're gross. Put some socks on. You're disgusting. Well, okay, that's a 5-minute foot interlude that I never.
I think we've lost all 89 of our new fans. So here we go.
Like, no, we're not talking about feet. Welcome to the Feet Show, starring Jeff Feet and Dale Feet. We're going to talk about feet.
I only want people to be a fan of my podcast if they like bullshitting, because it's like
90%.
If I were to ever get that note, I love your show, but you should get to the point more, I'd be like, I can't. That's too much pressure. And it would also feel like work. It would feel like
somebody has to actually say, I love the show first too. That's the harder hurdle to get over.
Good point. Okay.
All right. Get on to the reason why 89 people are tuning in to watch this week.
I'm just trying to remember if I covered everything we needed to cover before we get right back into it.
We killed it. We killed the last episode.
I mean, really all we had to say was that the goat was a female and the monkey raped the goat.
Yeah, that was
hurts my feelings.
That mystery is solved.
Yeah.
And also I called that, by the way.
You did.
That was my guess. Yep,
that was your position.
The monkey's the aggressor. My position is monkey on top. That's
I guess I'm just a romantic. Yes. And a gorilla woman coaxing a goat into fucking her is more romantic than a monkey just humping a goat.
No, I went with the historical aggressor being the ape-like person, unfortunately.
You went with what is way more likely.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. I sort of see me in that a little bit as like I'm the ape, and I've had many goats. And Is it hot here? It's warm in the old studio,
Oh
aka my
man,
desk.
I gotta turn down the thermostat. It's so awkward in here.
It's getting spicy up in this place.
Who turned it up to super awkward?
Who dialed up the thermostat to weird?
We needed that tepidly weird.
Turn the weird back down a little, please.
Yeah.
Getting
Okay. Back on track. We're
Yes.
serious biz over here.
Serious biz.
Actually, this coincides. Like the other podcasts I tried to watch this morning. Well, I watched one, and what I was talking about before I got distracted was there was someone on our podcast who commented, "Hey, if you want to learn more about the Bock Saga," and they have like a YouTube site. I think it's called Venemoinen thing. Remember that word? I couldn't remember what it was.
I got it. It's right here.
Yeah.
I'll read it to you.
Yeah. Read it to me.
It is. Yeah. Venemoinen mythology. It's mythology, but like Swedish style.
So I think their YouTube page is called Venemoinen mythology, and they have all these old. It's cool because they have all the old videos from like
the 80s
and 90s, and it's all like Eeyore Bock and stuff talking about it.
Yeah.
And if you could get over, that's why we got the ASMR sidetrack, because of the fireplace in the background of one of these videos.
Yeah. So there's a bunch on here. There's like a bunch of cool ones. There's the Viapori Castle tour where Eeyore Bock takes you on a journey through the castle. It's him like, oh man, he's hard to watch. I tried to watch one video with him talking, and he does that thing where he like does this. He talks and he moves back and forth all the time when he's talking. Yeah. It's super weird.
It's probably from all that time sucking his own dick and being inbred.
The jizz makes you hyperactive.
I heard you talk awkwardly if you're inbred.
Yes.
I don't know why you'd be listening to this and not episode 1, but what I mean by inbred is part of his tale is that his dad had sex with his sister to make him, because his brother died in World War I, and they needed Eeyore to pass on, to be the final piece in the family line, to pass on the 1,000-year-old oral history of the Bock Saga.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. On the Venemoinen mythology page, there's like, some of them have the same amount of views that you and I have on our last podcast.
Oh shit!
And then some of them have like 1.9 thousand views. There's not, but it's really like not a lot, right? Like he's got like an Eeyore Bock talking about the sounds in the Ramsa from 2007. That's posted on there. It's only got 92 views. So like we're right up there. We're right up there with Eeyore Bock views. So
there you go.
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh yeah.
Back on track.
So
sorry.
Before I got sidetracked about being sidetracked because I was talking about these videos I was watching, a lot of these is just the longest like back round away just to pat myself on the back is they all broke it down into 3 eras. There's the golden age, or the first age, where the Udenma, the good city, was still around. Fuck, I forgot all this stuff in 2 weeks. But anyways, like Helsinki, the ring city. So the premium, what did they call it? Anyways, like that was the first era, and then the first Ragnarok hit, and then there was the Atlantis era. And then the second Ragnarok hit, and then was the time when they went out. So everybody breaks down the Bock Saga into 3 parts. And I kind of broke it down into 2, but we're going to do what they would say the third part, what I would say the second part-ish.
Cool.
Which is when, sorry, I would cut you off.
No, go ahead. I'm not saying anything.
So now that we're finally going to talk about the second part of the Bock Saga on the Dale Show, we left off episode 1, or the first part, where the Bock family had 12 boys. 2 of them stayed behind, the oldest and the youngest, and they had started Sweden and Denmark. I can't remember which one's which. It doesn't matter. You just got to know that of the 12 sons, 1 started Sweden, 1 started Denmark. But the other 10 set out around the world to go meet up with the people who weren't behind the ice wall / the Vaser people, was that it?
Yes.
/ the non-Acer people who were just living out in the world. And since they had thousands or millions of years or whatever to evolutionize or adapt to the
Evolve.
sun, evolve. Thank you, Jeff.
You're welcome.
Words are hard sometimes.
I know.
Since they all had time to evolve, they all developed different characteristics of their faces and their bodies and different pigments of their skin. And that's where we pick up.
Yeah, cool.
So,
yeah.
Oh.
No, I have nothing. No, I'm just like, yeah, that's where we pick up. So yeah, we were there. And we talked briefly about like how like historically this is like the birth of the world, its creation through the Nordic people's eyes.
Yeah.
Lands.
So now we get to
lands.
what had happened was, just to quickly cover what happened. So Helsinki was where the Acer people, or the like technological leader people, were stuck behind an ice wall because it never froze over during the ice age, because of a nice warm air current went up and then did like figure eight swirl in the Gulf of Finland and kept Helsinki thawed. But they were cut off from the rest of the people. But so they had their technology because they were still in the ring city. So they had their technology and advances and stuff. Whereas the other people who were just randomly strewn about the world, they had lost all of their technology when the earth tilted / the ice age started. So that's where you get everybody being hunter-gatherers, whereas the people in Helsinki / the Atlanteans are technologically advanced and stuff. Now, when the Ragnarok happened and the ice wall fell, this is what actually made Atlantis sink, because since ice is water, and the way it fell was it just thawed out, and all this water came and washed out the city. So they lost, like, they didn't lose their technology because they still had their knowledge, but they lost all the like pre-built technology they had. So they kind of had to start over. And this is, in my opinion, this is the reason why they actually set out to go meet the other people in the first place, because they had lost their buildings and their farms and stuff, and they needed labor / people / community to help them. Jeff, did you finish watching that Graham Hancock show?
I did. I actually watched the whole thing, like all the way through. It didn't really, it was interesting. It got kind of repetitive. So I find him an interesting cast. It talked about Atlantis a little bit, and it talked about that. Oh my God, it's not super fresh in my brain. The that underwater road that they found.
Oh yeah,
that
was
I can't remember what it's called.
Haiti or what? No, not
Yeah,
Haiti.
well, somewhere where the water is very blue. I forget
like
exactly
the
where
Bahamas or something.
Yeah, the Bahamas. It's somewhere in the Bahamas. Yeah, and it's like this intersecting like road, and it's these huge flat stones, and they like go all the way out into the water.
And the weird thing was, like, yeah, they go out into the water, so they're put there before the water levels rose. And the thing was, everybody, like, people who explain it away now, they're like, oh, that just happened naturally for whatever reason. But they're like
they
8-inch wide ruts that are like half a foot deep, and they're like cart width apart, and they're just all over the shore part, like in the rock.
They drop the camera underneath, and they show how they're like leveled with other stones underneath. So there's these giant like 6 foot by 8 foot slabs.
Yeah.
And they have various rocks of different shapes and sizes underneath, like basically bolstering them up, where they're rough underneath and they're flat on the top. So they've somebody's taken, it didn't happen naturally. I don't know. It's hard to say that it happened naturally. It looks like they were put there on purpose, right? So basically he goes on in the whole thing to show all these megaliths that are potentially pre-human, or like what we know as human construction.
I'm gonna stop you right there.
Sure.
And this is the reason why I asked you this, is because Graham Hancock has this wicked theory that I love, that 12,000 years-ish ago, like these group of people came to all these different societies and taught hunter-gatherers how to farm, build cities, do art, make megaliths and stuff. And my theory now on like how the Bock Saga kind of intertwines with everything is that these were the 10 sons.
Yeah.
Like in the show that goes through Quetzalcoatl was the guy who went to Mexico, I believe.
Yeah.
And then there was he went through a couple of them.
He shares a bunch and they all have very similar stories. It's like this person, this figure that is otherworldly, for lack of a better term. It's usually a giant or a larger person, or however the ancients described a larger person, someone who is big, someone who is of huge stature, who goes in and shares knowledge with the people and like, build this here, point this toward the stars. And like, one of the things that is part of the structural piece of all the buildings is they all point towards like a star map or different parts of the horizon when the seasons change. So like, it is weirdly coincidental that all that's like
and
that.
one of the weird things too is it's like the reason they know that these buildings were built in a certain time was because like constellations and stuff kind of changed their position in the sky because of the precession of the equinox and stuff. I go over that in
that's what it is.
episode 2, I think, of this show. So if you don't know, go there. And but so they know that these buildings were built at a certain time because when you go back, like say 12,000 years, then they're actually pointing at a star.
It shows the shift of the Earth of where it would have been pointing 12,000 years ago. There's like computer programs that they've made to like replicate how the stars would have moved over to, or how the Earth changes on its. What did you call it? How did you call
the precession of the equinox?
Precession of the equinox, like how the Earth, it rotates, but it also kind of wavers a little bit.
The basic theory of it is as the Earth rotates on its axis, the axis kind of wobbles like a top. And it like I went through it all. It's like it's like a whole bunch of numbers, but it takes like 12,000 years or whatever to go. And if you hear people saying how we're coming into the age of Aquarius, that is to do with the precession of the equinox. And what that means is on summer solstice and winter solstice, the sun sets and rises. Behind the sun rising is a constellation. So I can't remember which one we came out, but we're going into Aquarius, which is what, the fish
no,
the water?
That's Pisces. Aquarius is the pitchfork. I don't know. I can't remember. What do I look like? Some kind
all that means is going into the age of Aquarius means that on the summer solstice, the sun will rise with the Aquarius constellation behind it.
It's literally water. It's like
it's the waves, right?
The waves. Yeah.
That's why I was thinking fish.
Water bearer. No, the fish is Pisces. It's 2 fish.
Yeah, that's fish in water. It's easy to
fish in water. Yeah, I know. Yeah. I know. I know.
So anyways, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. So yeah, one of the other pieces I found from that too, like in addition to the precession of the equator, why do I keep getting that wrong, and why do you know it so well?
Because I had to teach myself it because I kept getting it wrong.
The other thing that he mentioned that I thought was like worth mentioning here in this context as well, which I found fascinating, which I didn't know until I watched this show, and I have since checked it out to see if it's true. The Earth isn't actually round. It's like weirdly oval.
Yeah, because as it spins, centrifugal force pulls the sides out.
Yeah. So it's like, which makes sense. And we always see it as a circle, as like a perfectly round ball, because it's just easier to represent it that way. So when you see those maps where it's like actually elongated, that's more what the world actually looks like.
Oh, also, thank you. This reminds me. One of the reasons we didn't cover about this, the Ragnarok, the second Ragnarok, when the first Ragnarok, when the Earth tilted or whatever, is what could have happened is this thing called crust displacement theory.
Right.
And the way this works is, since what Jeff was talking about, how the Earth is oval because the centrifugal force of the spinning pulls the sides out. When you get too much ice or weight or whatever on the top, sometimes it'll get grabbed by the centrifugal force and pulled down.
Right.
So what could have happened for the first Ragnarok, i.e. when Helsinki stopped being at the very top of the world and went down to the side, is it could have had an ice chunk or something there that yanked it down
and kept it in that spot.
And one of the theories of how the Ice Age ended, like 12,000 years ago, which Greg Hancock and Randall Carlson call the Younger Dryas, there's a couple theories. One of them is crust displacement, where there was a huge ice cap on top, and then it got pulled down to where it was warmer, and then that's what caused it to melt. The other one, the one I like more, is the comet impact theory.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
This kind of coincides with the Bock saga, but not really, because the comet impact theory by Randall Carlson is there's a 2-kilometer thick ice sheet over North America, and that gets hit by some comets, and then it like superheats it, and it melts so fast that it like that's what like the flood
Yeah.
tales and stuff like Noah and stuff come from, was that basic rush of water. And then the sea levels rose 400 feet, I think Graham Hancock said in his Ancient Apocalypse show that me and Jeff were talking about. And so this is the way this all works with the Bock saga is, I think this is how the second Ragnarok happened, / Atlantis sinking / the ice wall disappearing, and them being free to go out into the world. And Jeff touched on it a bit when he was saying Quetzalcoatl, which was the guy from Mexico.
Yeah.
When they when you study these legends of these people coming, it's always like Jeff said, a giant, or as Graham Hancock said, it might be a giant of intellect.
Intellectual giant. Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Or since here's another theory of why they were bigger. Have you ever heard of this? I can't remember what the scientific name is. I learned it from Joe Rogan, but it's like,
here we go.
why animals in the cold are bigger, like why the woolly mammoth was so much bigger than a regular elephant.
Right. Yeah,
it's because when you go by body mass compared to skin surface area, if you're bigger, it's easier to keep your body heated. So since these guys, the Bockians or whatever, were stuck in the cold behind the ice wall, like it was thawed, but it was still cold. They didn't get much sun. So in order for them to keep just evolve, they would have grown taller so that their body temperature would have been easier to keep up, because the amount of body temperature you make in your core through your muscles and your blood, as opposed to the amount of body temperature you lose through skin surface area. And this is
very Joe Rogan sounding.
He was talking about it because that he was explaining why elk are bigger up north.
Yeah.
And no one said this is why people used to be taller back then.
You're just making that connection. I got you.
Yeah. And this would also be why Vikings were always bigger.
Yeah.
In stories and stuff.
Yeah, they're always giants or barbarians or these huge things. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you think about it, if you have hunter-gatherers who aren't nutritionally well fed, they would have had stunted growth. And so if you see like a 7-foot tall European looking guy with long blonde hair and a beard, you'd think he was a giant if you were like
totally. If you're 5, like the average height of exactly. Yeah. At most 5'6", right? Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And then the other thing was like Quetzalcoatl and Varus. Oh, that's what I was looking for before. Was
the other names of the people?
Yeah. Okay. So there was there's Quetzalcoatl. The most famous one that people probably know is Prometheus, how he gave people fire and stuff.
Yeah.
And then there's Viracocha, which was in the Andes. Yes. And then in Polynesia, there's a guy named Maui.
Yeah.
And he created the islands or whatever. But these guys all had very, very like white European appearances. They all had beards. They all appeared on boats that had no sails, i.e. like mechanically driven things. And the other weird thing that always sticks with me is that they had man bags. They all like in the carvings and stuff on the rocks and stuff, they're always like holding a bag, and inside it, I guess, would be the knowledge that it's like maybe a representation of the knowledge they brought to the people, or it could have just been tools like drawings and stuff on teaching these people how to stop being hunter-gatherers and start being farmers / artisans and stuff.
Totally. So I always find that theory funny. Like you have that same tale coming from various parts of the world, which again lines up with the 10 sons with the Bock saga, is that you have this person that shows up and they're either an actual giant or an intellectual giant. They come on some sort of a boat or a craft.
Mm-hmm.
They just arrive out of kind of nowhere. And they usually say it comes from the sea, or they came from the sea, or they came from the sunset, or they came from like the horizon or whatever, right? Like,
yeah.
And the person shows up and there's always like feathers or some sort of animal nature involved with them when they arrive. So like Quetzalcoatl was like a bird, like a feathered fish, and they're mostly like
Feathered
fish.
serpent.
Feathered serpent. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So they show up and there's on this serpent motif keeps showing up in all these locations as well. So that I always find that kind of interesting as well. So like when you are a new culture of limited communication ability and you're writing down, you're chronicling history, and some weird amazing event happens and you see a being that looks like a serpent, you're going to draw it of what you've seen. And there's like snakes all over the world. There's like one place where there's no snakes. It's like an island somewhere that has no snakes on it, but everywhere else in the world has snakes.
And so the craziest thing, if you go back to like the first drawings of people worshiping something, it's people worshiping a snake in some cave art or something.
Yeah, totally. Right. So you see this all the time in the sort of ancients, but like what Graham Hancock is talking about, which lines up with the Bock saga, which is what we're talking about, is that like in all these cultures, this same thing appears. This person with knowledge shows up and gives the new culture the information that they need to create new culture. They give them art and science and math and you know, so all the building blocks.
Yeah, and it's even in the Bible. Like if you think about it, like there's a lot of people who worship Lucifer as a Prometheus figure, that instead of cursing Adam and Eve, he actually gave them the gift of knowledge. So this would be the same sort of thing where you have Prometheus, who against the will of the gods came down and gave humans fire so that they could advance their technology on all this stuff. But it kind of doesn't work out because in Bock Saga, the brothers were sent out. They didn't sneak away. But you could, I heard one theory was that the Prometheus aspect of it was maybe someone snuck out of Helsinki before they were sent out. Like when there was still the ice wall, they figured out how to get out or something.
Yeah.
But I'll give you a quick rundown of Quetzalcoatl, like the myth.
Sure.
From the ancient, because I've been talking about him, because he's Quetzalcoatl's the example I always bring up, not because he's my favorite or anything, but it's the only one I remember the word of, as you can remember by how hard it was for me to remember Viracocha.
Yes.
So Quetzalcoatl, after the great flood, a stranger from the east landed on Mexico's shores, riding on a boat with no paddles, said to be carried by serpents. His name was Quetzalcoatl. He and his followers taught the locals how to grow crops and domesticate animals. He gave them laws and instructed them in the ways of architecture, astronomy, and the arts. After being ousted by the followers of a violent war god, he boated east. I don't know why I put boated instead of headed. Yeah, he boated east.
He boated east.
So he just took off to the right or the east. To
the right.
And he promised to one day return. Now, this actually fucked over South America, because when those dirty Spanish people came and ruined the Aztecs, one of the reasons...
You can't say dirty Spanish people.
I can, when they fucking tried to do genocide on the Aztecs and the Mayans. But one of the reasons that they were able to get like on land and get into Aztec society and stuff and then start killing them was because the Aztecs thought it was Quetzalcoatl returning. And when they saw them on horseback, they thought they were like half man, half human gods. So they're like, oh, these are those like white, tall people with beards, like Quetzalcoatl. They said they'd come back. And these are the guys who gave us.
And here they are.
And then the Spanish started asking them for gold. And they're like, yeah, we'll give you gold. You're the guy who taught us how to get gold. And then they just started killing everybody because Spanish people are evil back then.
We're evil, are evil.
We're evil.
Yeah. Had evil tendencies at the time of colonization.
Oh, I can't remember the name of the one guy. There's one guy who was looking for super bad. Like the leader guy. But anyways.
The leader of the Spanish?
Yeah, and the only reason we know how bad they were wasn't it wasn't Marco Polo. I would know the name.
Christopher Columbus.
I'm gonna Google it, guys. Just hold on. Jeff's
now I
making me
need to
feel
know.
bad about saying all the Spanish people are bad.
Leader
When I
of the
should
bad.
say
What are you typing in Google? Leader of the bad Spanish? Leader of the evil Spanish.
Spanish.
Leader of the Spanish genocide.
I gotta narrow it down. I can't just say
The
bad Spanish.
conquistador.
Conquistador.
Francisco Franco.
No,
more recent.
Who conquered the Aztecs? Bingo bango.
Who is it?
Hernan Cortez. Yeah, Cortez.
Oh, Cortez.
That guy. So he like took one of these Aztec kings and he's like, if you don't fill this room full of gold, I'm going to kill your king. And then they're like, fine, we'll get you the gold. So they bring him the gold and then he kills the king anyway because he's dirtbag.
It's an ass wipe.
Oh, just
okay. You're right. That's an asshole Spanish thing to do.
The worst part about this is like we lost a whole bunch of knowledge because these Aztec people would have had all this information with astronomy and astrology. I don't know the difference between those two. They had them all on gold plates because they're like, gold lasts forever. What would ever happen to this? And then Cortez just melted them all down. He's like, oh, that's a pretty sweet 6 foot wide plate that describes the meaning of the meaning of life. I'm just going to melt that down because I'm a bastard. Yeah. So Cortez made life equivocally worse for everybody in the entire world.
So just a point of order, astronomy, Dale, is the study of the universe and its contents outside of Earth's atmosphere. Astrology is the study of those positions, motions, and properties that affect people and events on Earth.
Oh, okay. So they would have had, they would have known both because they would have like in the like when people were born and what happened to them and all that. That's astrology.
I think it was less about astrology and more about like seasonal pieces.
Sorry, I got so worked up. I get a little worked up.
You get worked up sometimes, and that's all right. No, you're excited. I get it. Yeah.
I mean, you shouldn't really feel bad about the Aztecs. Because they murdered virgin people to like bless temples and stuff.
They did do that. There's a lot of bloodletting.
They might have been the ones who murdered the Mayans and wiped them out. But weird note about the Mayans, in order to reach like a dream states so they could see visions and stuff, they would bloodlet their own penis. So they would like meditate and cut slits in their penis. So the loss of blood would make them lightheaded so they could see visions.
Oh man. So
a lot of penis talk today.
A lot of penis talk. So, on a similar vein, I remember I took oh my God, now I have astronomy and astrology. What's the anthropology? I took an anthropology class in university because I had to.
I took anthropology as well.
Yeah, I had a teacher who talked to me about there's a tribe, I think in New Guinea somewhere, who
it's pronounced Nugini.
Nugini. Nogany. That they ritually cut their own penises to simulate menstruation of the women in their tribe. And then bound it up with like it stuck with me forever. I can't get that image out of my head.
That's weirdly sweet.
They would go down to the water and cut the bottom of their penis and then pack it with like leaves and tie it back up until the blood stopped. And then every month they would go and open it up in like go open up their penis into the ocean in honor of their women.
Like, do you think these people, these guys,
by comparison,
do you think they did that so that their wives could see them and be like, oh, they're bleeding too, they feel bad? Or do you think that they were like totally toxic and they're like, these women are getting special treatment, I want to be special too, and I'm
you know what, man, I'm absolutely certain that my instructor gave us the answer, and it's not there. The thing that stuck was the cutting of the penis.
People don't come here to learn actual facts. They come here to listen to us talk about penises.
Sure. I'm gonna go ahead and say that those dudes were awesome. That's all I'm gonna say.
They were doing it for
the love reasons of their ladies.
Yes.
I was like, part of our marriage vows, I'm like, I am not simulating menstruation by cutting open my penis. And she's like, not what? And I'm like, I took an anthropology class. It was horrifying. I never want to talk about it after this day.
Like, I'm not slitting open the bottom of my penis like a hot dog in a microwave and then stuffing it full of dirt and leaves.
Oh God.
Just so you don't feel alone.
So anyway, my penis is now my own personal penis is retracted inside of my body now. So I have just like an innie right now. I have just testicles and a lump, like a Ken doll.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So
I
thank
mean,
you for that.
a good psychopath test would be to talk about the Mayans bloodletting their penises, or this tribe in New Guinea slitting open their penis, and anybody whose dick didn't crawl back inside of them is a psychopath.
Tell me more. I'm harder right now. I'm so hard.
Like, get out of here.
Anyway, tell me more about this. Just a fucking turgid number right there. Okay, what are we talking about? Let's stop talking about penises anymore. Let's get back on track. So
we'll never be done talking about penises.
Welcome to the Penis Show. I'm your host, Penis, and with me as always is Penis. Today on the Penis Show, we're talking about penis.
I wanted to talk about, remember when we were saying, where was that? On, oh God, I lost my place in my notes. Oh yeah. So one of the things, this was on the Ancient Apocalypse, that with Graham Hancock, and one of the things he was talking about was there was a great pyramid of Cholula that's in Mexico somewhere,
where the hot sauce comes from.
Oh, I like hot sauce.
The same city.
Anyways, it was built by giants, and then a flood came and killed all the giants except 7, who then built the Great Pyramid to worship the rain god. Right. So basically there's just this weird myth, and he's saying that what if these myths weren't physically giants, but they were seen as giants of industry type deal, where they have like giant brains full of knowledge and stuff. I don't know how that would work into the Bock Saga, but that was just an example of how.
Well, no, I mean, I think
giants.
I think we've thoroughly covered how it would fit into the Bock Saga, that whole intellectual giant, or possibly even one of the 10 brothers going out into the world are these giants, like these huge giant Norwegian people coming out.
Yeah.
Swedish or Norwegian, or let's just call them Nordic to cover up that whole area. North of Europe. Yeah.
And this could also be why could be Nordic aliens that we covered.
They did come in on a boat.
That's true.
A boat without a sail. That's an alien spaceship, man. Come on, you know we're talking about that.
Episode did we talk about the different aliens?
Dude, that was the one right after Alien War. It was the
hybrids.
It was hybrids. Yeah, it was the human hybrid ones. I mean, you talked about like the different alien types, and one of them was Nordic aliens, and one of them was the Greys, and one of them was the I forget. Anyway,
so one of the beauties about this Bock Saga is, like I keep saying, it's the red yarn where everything can work in, and then it's like Jeff said, when Jeff said Nordic, it's like, bing, oh yeah, Nordic aliens from the Pleiadians system. If you want to hear more about them, I talk about them in the alien hybrid episode. Yeah. So
I was there too.
Yes, you were. I'm not saying that the Bocksagians or the Bockians were aliens. I'm just saying
there's just that
some
with it, right?
Of these tales that people contribute or attribute to the aliens could actually be these Bock Saga 10 brothers who came down. And I mean, if you're riding on a ship that looks like it's being driven by serpents, next step is there an alien?
Have you ever seen? Okay, so I'm going to jump on that. Here's my my conspiracy enthusiast piece. You've seen heat waves before, right?
Yeah.
Right, like you're driving along the highway and you look in the distance, and the sort of the highway's kind of doing one of these way down because it's hot. And that, so like you could picture this movement is like serpents, and if you see a boat coming on hot serpents of air, it looks like the boat's being carried by serpents. That's an alien craft coming down in hot.
Yeah, and also
I'm going right onto that. I believe in aliens. It's fine.
If you got these guys, I'm going with your theory here. So you say you have these Bock brothers. They're coming in on, for lack of a better term, cars. And they're coming in through the heat. And like you said, there's the heat waves. And sometimes when you see a car on a hot highway, it looks like it's floating above or wiggling. So this could be where they saw like flying craft and stuff. It was just like a cart on the ground,
that was
being
at a distance in the
self-propelled, so it could have looked like it was floating.
So there's like, I mean, and that's the same again. Graham Hancock goes over that in his series. that
Mhm.
the same kind of thing happens all over the planet at the same kind of around the same time, all around that 12,000
Mhm.
years ago mark, right?
That 12,800 years ago. I'm not saying be convinced. I'm just saying next time you hear 12,800 years ago, just be like,
Yeah.
oh, that's about that could be the Bock Saga stuff.
It's
And
weird
it's
as like
yeah.
a solidly educated human being
Mhm.
watching that stuff and getting an alternative perspective on history, and then like knowing what we know now. This is where it's hard to be like where it's hard to be me in this situation, right?
Mhm.
I'm like, I would like to consider myself a reasonably smart person, right? I'm well educated, I read a
I'll
lot.
allow it.
Right, thank you, I appreciate that. And like and I know a lot of stuff, and I've like and I've got a lot of life experience, and I've done a lot of
Mhm.
things that have traveled, and I've seen the world in places extensively. And and it's like I watched that Graham Hancock thing, and I was like, I have to always fight that urge to be like, this is bullshit. This guy goes on Joe Rogan's show and just says lies,
Mhm.
right? And I have to like resist the urge to do that and just be open to the possibility that, like, how do you explain this shit? How do you explain that it can only be carbon dated so far? How do you, like, who's guarding the knowledge of these pieces? It just opens up more questions than it does answers. And like, I was given a university education. I paid for a university education where I was told like
Yeah.
these factual things, like the earth or sorry, like modern culture and civilization is X amount of years old, right? Like
Mhm.
it dates back a few thousand years before Christ, right? And
Yeah,
like
like at
really,
max 6,000 years old or
right,
whatever.
and it's presented to you as facts, and you go to
Mhm.
university and you pay money to hear people tell you these facts, and you learn and study these facts, and you put them in your brain, and you write all these facts down, and you go and you do this stuff, and you're like, yep, I've generally accepted that, like the pyramids were what, 800 BC or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Like, right, like they're built right around then, they're like 2,000 years old. And then you look at them and you're like, okay, nothing else that is 2,000 or slightly over 2,000 years old looks like that,
Yeah.
right? Like,
The weird thing about Graham Hancock for me was I'd like heard him on Joe Rogan or whatever. I know
yeah,
people hate that or whatever. And he like gives you all this stuff. Like the first thing I ever heard him talk about was Göbekli Tepe.
right,
And
which
I'm
I
like, oh, that's in Turkey. I'm like, that sounds cool. And he's like, yeah, so we carbon dated this and it's 12,800
yeah,
years ago. I was like, okay, yeah. I mean, if you carbon dated it, sure. And then he talks about how people just were unwilling to accept that. I'm like, yeah, but he has the
the
why
carbon
wouldn't you
dates.
just
So
accept that? And it's like
I'm
he keeps going through this thing where people are just unwilling to acknowledge like
yeah,
these the evidence he brings forth. And I'm always like, yeah, if it's convincing, we should why can't we just change the date of how old humans
he
are? Like, what's the
and
big
he
fucking
talks about that.
deal?
He talks about that. He talks about like academic gatekeeping, and I can see why
Yeah.
there's like benefits to academic gatekeeping for like funding reasons, for all these other
Hmm.
reasons, right? But I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm thinking about it, and you think about like Göbekli Tepe. You think about all these places where he went, where there's like these structures that were built well before. Like I was in, I'm not saying Belgium is the height of Europe, but
Yeah.
I was in Belgium and I was standing in a building that was built in the year 1200,
Yeah.
right? The year of our Lord, 1200, 1200,
Mhm.
1200 Jesus years. And I was like, this building is actually a giant piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like technologically, comparatively,
Hmm.
it was very. I'm like, it's amazing. You're standing in this history, and you're like, this building compared to the pyramids, this building fucking sucks.
Yeah.
It's
And
a
the
piece
weird
of
thing
absolute human garbage. Like
and
it's a
the weird thing
waste.
about the pyramids, like you're saying, is as you get newer, they get
They
worse.
get worse, and that's sort
Yeah.
of what I'm looking at, right? And then you see this sort of like shift in like our time of
Yeah.
the 1940s, 1950s, the post-war, like even in 1940s, like in the wartime era, and you look at Europe and you see these films, and you see this footage, you see all this shit that's like, okay, it's old ass European buildings. And like there's a
Mhm.
place we went to Bruges in Belgium, and it's like
Bruges.
it was the only place that was like untouched by the war. It
Oh
somehow is
yeah.
this little pocket of Belgium that the war never hit.
Yeah.
Like, so it's like this perfectly preserved medieval town in the middle of Belgium, right?
Yeah.
Everything else around it got absolutely fucking mangled and rebuilt,
Okay.
but this place stayed the same. But it's like, it has buildings from like 1200 to like 1800,
Yeah.
and there's nothing kind of newer than that. There's newer like infrastructure within those pieces, but it's all
Mhm.
like a UNESCO heritage site kind of thing. And then you go to Brussels, in Belgium, not so far away, and it's fucking glass. It's Vancouver, Europe. It's just
Oh
like
yeah.
it's metropolitan. It's like there's cities underneath the city, and you can like walk over top of them, and you see them like excavating old Brussels underneath the
Yeah.
modern Brussels, and you're like, and that's what the story was at Göbekli Tepe. They're like down strata layers into this like area that's a whole city beneath other cities beneath another city. It's like three
Yeah.
cities down. And you're like, holy fuck, how many other, and this is the same in Egypt too, they've dug down and they're under
Mm-hmm.
strata layers of like cities on top of cities on top of cities over time. And you're like, how the fuck did all those cities get built there within the last 5,000 years?
Yeah.
There's
And
no way.
the other fucked up thing, like especially with Göbekli Tepe, one of the reasons that, or one of the things that they carbon dated was all this backfill. So it was like
Yeah.
people 12,000 years ago, they're like, we should fucking bury this. The fucking weirdo dudes who hate history are coming. And it was almost like they had like like historical gatekeepers back then, because they buried all this stuff, and then that's how they can carbon date it now. And there's like a bunch of different examples of stuff, like even the Sphinx, like the
The
pit
paw
around
area.
the Sphinx was filled in, and
Yeah.
they're like, it might not have happened naturally, they might have just filled it in. And it's like you hear all this stuff and you're like, and me personally, I'm just like, yeah, let's fucking figure out what actually happened.
And they're
Let's,
like, nah, we'll leave it. It's fine. It's
yeah,
exactly what we
these
said it
guys
was.
are crazy.
Yeah, they're nuts. Yeah. Why
One
would
of
we
the
do
other
that?
things
Why would we spend money looking
was
into that?
the guy who was in charge of all of Egypt. Like there's a guy now who's in charge. That's weird because I know these names, but I forget them.
That's okay.
But
I
there's
don't know
like
them, so you're a step
one,
ahead of me.
the head of antiquities in Egypt. There's a guy right now who's kind of cool and he lets people go to places. But the guy before him
Oh yeah,
was,
was like all shut up about it.
yeah, was one of these historical gatekeepers. And he was like,
Zahi Hawass.
yeah, is that the guy now or is that the old
Yeah, that's
guy?
that's the current guy.
Okay, yeah, he's cool. I
Yeah.
don't know how I know. So it's like I hear
Oh no,
gossip.
he's the former Minister of State of Antiquities of Affairs of
Oh,
Egypt.
does it have his dates?
I'm looking right now.
Okay.
Please hold. Your call is
Because I
important to
feel
me.
like Zaki Hawass was the cool one who let people do stuff. Maybe he got shit canned because of that.
It looks like he served twice.
Okay. Maybe
I'm
he's a
looking
dick. I
for
don't
the
know.
dates. Mohammed Ibrahim Ali is the current person in office.
Okay. And it doesn't have their dates of when they started and
Yeah,
ended.
January 31st, 2011 to March 3rd, 2011.
Who was that?
That was
Hawass?
this is Hawass. He was only there for a short time, it looks like.
Oh, okay. And then who was
3
after
months.
that?
He was succeeded by he was succeeded by Muhammad Ibrahim Ali, who was there April 25th, 2011 to July 17th, 2011. So these people are serving very short times.
Yeah, it's not a very
It's a volatile position to be the protector of Egyptology, it looks like.
yeah.
So Hawass took Obama there in 2009 to the pyramids and showed him around. I think
Oh,
he's the
nice.
guy that was granting access to people.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then I think maybe now they shut it down again because they
Yeah.
want to preserve it, all this stuff. So they don't want too many people to look at it. But that's like they don't want people to go in and question the official timeline of stuff.
Well, yeah. That's somebody once said to me one time, a long time ago, if you want to study Egypt, just go to England. Because you find out they basically stole fucking everything and put it in their museums.
That's
I know
rough,
it
but
is
it's
rough,
true.
but it's true, right?
Mhm.
Like if you want to go find it, go to England and
Mhm.
look at all the Egyptology stuff. And like I always find shit like that too. When the King Tut exhibit, the Tutankhamun exhibit was here in Vancouver just recently. Like it fucking tours and it makes shit piles of cash all across the world. Why isn't that in Egypt where it belongs? Like that's part of their history and their culture. So
I
there's
think
other pieces to that.
yeah, I think National Geographic's doing like a slideshow right now for like King Tut or whatever in town.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Anyway,
So
we're way the hell out here on the topic. I forget where we're going with Bock Saga stuff and tying it back to that.
That's fine. We were basically talking about how these 10 brothers went out.
Oh, right.
And we're talking to people and we're giving examples and stuff of how they were. And then it's actually good that we were bullshitting so much because I don't know too much about like any specific thing that these brothers did according to the Bock Saga.
So that was the thing. It didn't really say it. It sort of ended off there, or I haven't watched enough of the the Bock videos, I haven't cared enough to like get right into them because it's too weird to watch a guy do this for an entire hour.
And it's like, it's not as sexy as the fucking monkey humping the goat.
It's not at all, right? And so it's sort of that's the thing. Like, it talks about the language, it talks about the origin story, it talks about Helsinki being like, this is the cradle of civilization for white people, and then it goes off and says the 10 brothers just go off, and the 10 brothers of different skin tones go off into the world and set up shop on various continents.
Well, no, they just went and taught the other people the different skin tone was when they got there. That was
when they got there, right? Because everybody shot out of there as like giant white Nordic folk.
I mean, I could guess what happened to these 10 brothers. They probably all got melanoma and died of skin cancer.
Yeah, like literally
they saw actual sun.
Jesus Christ, what is this?
Yeah,
I chose Jesus Christ specifically for that. But yeah, holy hell, what the absolute Odin is going on here?
Yeah, and this, it's funny because
so fucking hot.
The funny thing is, it's like, we don't know. This is the part where they're scant on the details, but this is my favorite part because this is where it starts tying into all the other stuff, and you could be like, oh yeah, like Quetzalcoatl and the Bock brother and all this stuff.
What episode is this of the show? 23, 22, 23?
23.
23. And like, so we have like, if you go back, and this is the plug for our own show on our show, if you go back and watch some of our other shows, we talk about shit that ties directly back into this. And Dale, you're right. Like, the most fascinating part of this Bock Saga piece is how it ties into everything. Are you opening a drink? You're opening a drink right now.
I was trying to do that so quiet, but I had my hand over it like this.
I know you did. You were doing it so well, but you were doing this while you're doing it. You're like, and I'm like, oh, he's fucking opening a drink or shitting himself. It's one of the other.
This is why we'll never be famous.
No, I know. He's busy opening a beverage or crapping his pants. I'm not sure. We'll see what noise comes out of
one
the
of the two.
It's one of the two. Yeah.
So, if it's just podcast over, then I pooped my pants.
Then I pooped. I have to go home. Be right back after a word from our sponsor. Yeah. Dale's handy wipes when you just absolutely shat in the computer chair and you have to go. It is fascinating. You go back and you listen to like, okay, the only thing that I can't tie in to this.
Give me the challenge, buddy. I'll tie it in.
Okay. Bigfoot, your favorite subject.
Okay.
Here we go. Challenge is you.
Actually,
also, like, even the cryptids, like the cryptids edition episodes, while fun and exciting, can't really be tied back to the Bock Saga unless Dale figures it out right now.
We're gonna talk, or we did talk a lot, extensively, about a monkey fucking a goat.
We did.
And those hybrids became humans.
Yeah.
There is nothing to stop us from believing that they didn't just turn right into humans, and they might have stopped at Bigfoot on the way to becoming humans. Like,
oh, Dale, I don't know about this one.
Okay, but anyways, this reminds me.
I see where you're going with it. There is no goat trace evidence of Bigfoot unless you want to talk about how he can climb through hills easily.
Yeah, that's true. Well, he phases into different stages of reality. He's a dimension walker.
Are we attributing? Yeah, I agree. So how does that tie to Bock Saga?
I was trying to figure this out. Well, because I got sidetracked because we were
this week on Stump Dale's.
I'm going to give you an example of why I got sidetracked, and that's Sasquatch guy at work told me this theory. I made a TikTok about it, so if you watch my TikToks, you already know this.
I gotta get TikTok.
But he was saying, for some reason, he just comes up to me, like stands right here. He's like, "Hey, did you know Bigfoot was a hybrid?" And I was like, "I'm listening." And I was like,
"You have my attention."
I was like, "I am my ADD just got cured because I will listen to you for hours. Tell me what you have." And I was like, "Do you mean hybrids like aliens?" And he's like, "No." And I was like, "Shit, what could it be?" And he was like, "Well, first, what you have to accept, suspend your disbelief for a second here." He says somebody actually has the body of a Bigfoot because they shot at some female. So it's quite diverse.
Small Bigfoot.
Yeah, it's empowering to women because a woman shot Bigfoot. Anyways, they took a piece of his flesh and sent it away for genetic testing, but the lab had never seen half of this DNA. And then I was like, yeah, but the lab wouldn't have alien DNA, would they? And he's like, of course they have alien DNA. What do you think this is? Amateur hour? Aliens are real. They know what they look like and all this stuff. And I was like, well, then what is it? And he tells me angels.
What?
So his theory is that Sasquatch is the Nephilim. So Sasquatch is half human, half angel, i.e. a Nephilim. And then the way this reminded me was because I was thinking about Bock Saga constantly for the last 2 months or 2 weeks.
Yeah, babe, you really have.
And one of the things I was thinking about these brothers was, what if they're the Nephilim? Because the way it stacks up with the Bible in Genesis is like these 10 brothers, i.e. the sons of God or angels, see that women are fair and go pork them a whole bunch and make half alien, half human Nephilims. So these 10 brothers could have done that. And in the Bible, people don't actually know this, but the reason that God flooded the earth wasn't because people were dicks, because they were. It was because these Nephilim existed and he was scared that they would have as much power as him. Because in the Bible, it says, I cannot abide by our power. He says our, like there's multiple anyways. He's like, I can't abide of our power being in these humans. So I will make it so they can only live 120 years. So he takes down the life cycle of humans down to 120 years because the Nephilim had put the power of God in them. And then he's like, that's not enough. I'm killing them all. So the whole Bock Saga tie-in is that some of these Bock boys got out and went and porked humans, or what are they? Vassals? No. What are the non-acers called? I can't remember.
Fuck if I remember.
Anyways.
You lost me at porking. I'm all
yeah, I saw you got tripped up on porking, but but so these guys escape Helsinki or the ice walled city, and they go have intimate relations with it's Vassar. Yeah, the Vassars.
Vassar and Acer. It's basically Acer with a V on it.
Yeah, so they make half Vassar, half Acer. Vassar Acers. So they make these Vassar Acer peoples, which would be the Nephilim. And then the people who are running Helsinki, the Bocks, the Acers, they get all upset because now these Vassars are going to have these giant warrior / Acer half breeds. So they just flood everything.
Flood the earth. Fuck all this.
Yeah.
Boosh.
And so and that's how I got all excited and titillated for Sasquatch being a Nephilim, getting crossed over into.
You do need to quit your job and start writing that graphic novel. If for nothing else, then for because I know as soon as you did this, I'm like, I know that guy. That guy. Yeah. There's a guy like that at every workplace. It's like, hey,
oh my god,
hey, I'm gonna tell you something. And why is he that close to you when he talks to you all the time? There's always
because
that guy. It's always a dude.
What he tells you is so good. And the best part is you can't repeat this to anybody else you work at because then you're the crazy guy.
Bigfoot's angels. Like, fucking what? Carry on. Yeah.
Yeah. And this guy at work, the Sasquatch guy, he's my absolute favorite for like 7.5 minutes. And you're like, all right.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's because your ADD kicks back in. And you're like, cool, I've heard enough. It's time to do some it's time to do some welding.
Yeah. But while you were talking about angels and Sasquatch,
you had me there for the first 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You lost me at porking and I hung on for another 5 to see if it got better. Sound familiar? I don't know. Anyway.
I feel like you did very well.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be hard to actually, without that whole aside of the angels and Nephilims, tie in Sasquatch or the cryptids with the Bock Saga stuff.
They're just unexplained phenomenon of things that happen.
Yeah, the only thing I can guess is just maybe some of the Bockians or the Acers with all their powers and stuff escaped to like Tibet. Did Yetis come before Sasquatch?
I'm not sure if there's an established timeline on which one came first, but yeah.
Because I'm just making this up as I go.
Okay.
And I'm explaining this just to make it make sense to me. So
I have a theory. I'm listening, but I'm also looking for something while you're typing. Go ahead.
So say these Acer, they escape from the Helsinki ice walls and stuff, and they go to the Andes / Tibet, and they live there, and then they get like hairy and stuff as a form of evolution, and then they leave the Andes Tibetan on the Bering Land Bridge and come to the Pacific Northwest and turn into Sasquatch as they further evolve to be like a warmer climate monkey man. That theory is gonna have to take some like
yeah, it's gonna Vayner. It's Vayner people, not Vaser people. It's Vayner.
Oh,
that's okay. Anyway, sorry.
Okay, discredit everything I said.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway, so I have. Okay, you ready for my bonkers theory on tying?
Tell me. Just tell me.
Okay.
Buddy.
So I'm currently looking at. So you remember the root language? I'm going back to the root language, and we talked about this. So this is how I'm tying Bigfoot back to the Bock Saga and the root alphabet of sounds with all of this. So you remember from the previous episode, we talked about the root language and how it's basically a circle with the A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Like it's the sounds go around in a circle and they tell a story as they tell a story. Somewhere in that story, and I'm trying to confirm my my theory right now as I talk and also study at the exact same time, and you're
doing really good at it.
Thank you. I'm trying. So there is a sound. One of the sounds and part of the story is opening something, like opening the gates of Helsinki. Porkin. No, it's something about or opening the gates of Asgard, if I remember, or something like that.
Okay.
So here's my bonkers theory. You know how it goes in a circle and it tells a story and it talks about opening the gate to Asgard and between two worlds and allowing Midgard and Asgard to come together, which sounds vaguely like a Marvel movie plot. But anyway, the root language actually talks about this part where Tor Asgard Leben aus haben von Menschen die and then they einen in Asgard Eben. My Swedish is terrible, but basically a rift opens between the Vayner and the Acer people at the E sound. So Bigfoot walks between Midgard and Asgard.
Ooh, I like it. Nice. Where are you reading this on that?
Oh man, here, I was reading, so I watched a video, but I'll show you I was using the root language chart wheel. I'm going to put it in the chat so that you can see it.
Put it in the chat and I'll put it in the show notes because I had one that I put in last video.
It's just a video of the chart.
Okay.
Or not a video, sorry, it's an image of the chart.
Let me look at this image. Oh yeah, I think this is the one I put in last time. I just Googled it and I found it.
So so that's the chart right there.
Oh wait, this one's better than the one I had because
because I'm awesome.
That's why. Couldn't read it.
Yeah, I got this one that's bigger, and this is it's in German. I think that's the problem with it.
Okay.
It's a German translation of the one. I know the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
And it has, but this one is essentially the same with German written on it, but it's the same chart. So if you ignore the German part of it,
yeah, it's got the same alphabet and whatever.
Yeah. So so that's my bogus bonkers theory, is that Bigfoot walks between the worlds in the between Asgard and Midgard.
I like it.
And there we tie Bigfoot into the box.
Okay.
Cryptid's a little more difficult because that's just human experimentation gone awry. Oh my god. Yeah. So speaking of the cryptids, and I know that's not part of this show, but this for our cryptids.
I'm always down to talk about cryptids, no matter what.
So you know when you like think about something in your brain and you're like, somebody else must have had this thought, and somebody did have this thought, and there's art to go along with this thought.
Yeah.
But I was like
the G-rated Rule 34.
Yeah, totally. I was thinking about cryptids, and I was like, I wonder what a cool Twitter. I was like trying to think of like my Twitter handle's like ancient. I was trying to think of a new Twitter handle. I was like, I wonder if anybody has Tupacabra. like a chupacabra that looks like Tupac, but
that's awesome.
There's full on a shirt with it on there and everything. So I was like, oh, somebody's already thought of this. And then there was also the notorious BIG is a Sasquatch. Somebody's already cornered the rap cryptid game, so I'm not there.
Yeah, maybe you got to update them because Tupac and Biggie, those are easy because they're like kind of like
it's a Sasquatch
modern
and a
hip hop.
chupacabra.
They're like the two pillars, but like you should get like Eminem or like Jay-Z or even like one of the weird new guys.
I don't know who
Lil
the new
Wayne.
guys are.
That guy's not even new. I don't know why I said that.
Yeah,
I don't even know.
I don't know. Smoke Purp.
So
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know anything. I don't know anything about rap. I'm not a rap guy.
Mm-hmm. So I think we've talked about the 10 sons leaving Helsinki enough, and we're gonna close this out by that. That was the first two Ragnaroks. Yeah, first Ragnarok was when the axis on the earth tilted and the ice age started. Second Ragnarok was when the ice age ended and Atlantis sunk. The third Ragnarok is when the Catholic Church ruined the party and sent our boys underground. So basically what would happen was, I think this was like the year 900 or something, that the Catholic Church went into Helsinki and they started up the pubs and the clubs and everything. And then this is when they got basically the Helsinki North and the Nordic people addicted to alcohol, because they'd go start a church and be like, all your pagan rules are bullshit. Come learn about Jesus and then have a drink.
You know what's delicious? Whiskey. Come on.
Yeah. So they wanted to beat like their history out of them and stuff. Sounds familiar. If you look at any culture, anytime another culture comes in, it's always what they do. They're always like, what you know is dumb. Here's what we know. This is your new knowledge.
Sound like earlier in the show, the evil Spanish, and we come
yes,
full circle.
Who were also
Catholics. Yeah.
And I'm not gonna say anything bad about the Catholics because
that's fine.
Nah.
I'm a former Catholic, so it's
so they they consider this the third Ragnarok, and this is also full circle in a different, not the root language way, but the root language way. This is when the oral tradition of the Bock Saga started, because they couldn't just write it down in a book, because those Catholics would just come and rip up that book. Just like
Catholics.
Irenaeus did in the year 300 when he got rid of the Gnostic text. Same thing.
And that's flashback to episode 18 of Gnosticism.
Yeah. So what happened was the Bock family, which Eeyore Bock is supposed to be the last one of, they went underground, and because the Catholic Church had believed that the royal line of Asser had ended when they came in, but apparently they'd gone underground, and they passed on this oral tradition, and they said they would pass it on for 1,000 years. Eeyore told us that, which coincidentally 1,000 years ended exactly with him, so he was the golden boy. So that's why he had to learn this oral tradition for 2 hours a night. That's also why his dad had to hump his own daughter, just to make sure that they could reach the 1,000 years and get this oral tradition out in 1984, which coincidentally had nothing to do with the George Orwell book. But you know what they say, there's no such thing as coincidences.
There is no such thing as coinky-dinkies.
So
I was just thinking about our friend Eeyore Bock and like how difficult it is to have offspring when you're constantly self-filleting.
Well, yeah, that's true. Eeyore didn't have any kids. He's the last of his line.
That's right. So the Bocks are toast. So what do you do? So like, and he died like recently too, right? Like 2000, or not recently, but like 2011 or something like that.
Oh yeah.
I don't remember. So like, he's the last of his line. So maybe that's why this is such a popular topic right now, is because he died and people are like,
I don't know why it's popular in 2022.
It seems like weird that it would be a resurgence in this discussion, right?
I'd never heard of it, but if you look at like that Van Moynen mythology, that YouTube handle, all those videos were posted 7 months ago. Right. And then you have the Deep Share podcast, who started going through the Bock Saga and stuff. So it's definitely had a resurgence in the last couple of years, even though it's been around since 1984, when Eeyore Bock wrote the book, or like, I guess, did he write the book, or did he orate it and someone
he orated and somebody else wrote it down? So that's why it's a little weird too, right?
Yeah. I want to see if you could buy this book. Because apparently there's
do you really want to see if you could buy this book?
Okay, so Carl Borgen wrote the book The Bock Saga, and it is $20.
Oh yes, that's right. Okay. Yeah. And Dale's gonna look for it.
Insane.
And Dale's gonna look for it on tape somewhere.
Yeah. I already looked for it on tape. There was nothing. So
oh really?
That's why I came into this podcast without doing the research of reading this book, was because I couldn't listen to it.
Oh yeah, it's too hard to it was just too hard to stomach.
Dude, I couldn't find it available.
Oh, okay.
Like if the Bock Saga book by Carl Borgen was available, I'd listen to it.
Right.
I'll fuck with that.
I'm
down for some crazy shit.
I would read some.
You want to get crazy? I'll listen.
Let's get crazy. Yeah. Put on some headphones and get nuts.
Yeah. Okay. But apparently it's on. You figure that somebody would have made this an Audible book, and it really chaps my ass when you can buy books on Amazon, but not the Audible book on Audible, because Audible's run by Amazon.
Well, I mean, maybe somebody hasn't narrated it yet, and maybe this is where Dale needs to step in. And oh my God, can you imagine Dale being the narrator for a book? And like,
I would just like start going so fast and getting flustered.
Oh my God,
dude, my own brother doesn't listen to this podcast. I was like, oh, you should listen to this Bock Saga one. He's like, I can't listen to you read. It's just too much. And I was like, I mean, I guess so.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're coming up on an hour and a half here. Is there anything else that you want?
It's 264 pages. I found it.
Oh, nice. Okay. Are you going to read that? That's a lot. That's a lot of pages.
Yeah.
Chaos. I just finished reading Chaos. It was like 700 pages.
Yeah, I'd listen to that, but I can't read. I can't read books because I'll sit down and read, and then I'll just get this like,
I should be doing something with my hands.
I should be doing something productive. And like, if I listen,
productivity is a capitalist myth.
That's true. If I listen to it on audio, I can draw. That makes me feel productive. I can do house chores. I can fucking play video games, which is very not productive, but feels like I'm doing something.
Yeah, but I get it.
But I also listen to audiobooks at work when I'm like welding shit. So
yeah.
Then it's just like free. It's this thing called found time.
Yes.
There's this one of the theories on why podcasts are so popular and everybody's listening to them is because people are doing it during their found time.
Yeah, dude.
When they're like transiting or working.
Yeah. That's when I listen to podcasts. I kind of stopped my commute has only recently increased, but my previous commute was Burnaby to Richmond, and I was like an hour there, an hour home minimum.
Yeah.
Right. So like I go further than you. We live in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
I know where you stopped to go to work, and I had to go on the 91 further down to number 6 road. So like, I was just down the street from there, and I was like, every day I would listen to a podcast and I would get at least 45 minutes in a podcast on the way to work. Right. So now my commute's like 11 kilometers. So it's like, it's not enough time to load a podcast and listen to it. So, but it is right now because our fucking neighborhood's shut down.
Oh yeah. You got douched.
I have to go all the way around. It's bullshit. Anyway, no one wants to hear about my traffic woes. I digress. If only I could phase in and out of time like a Bigfoot. I gotta go. It's 8:30. I gotta run.
Hey, that's fine. We got an hour and a half. Did you make a new Twitter handle?
No, it's Perfect. Mr. Goats. You can find me on the internet at Mr. Goats, MisterGoats on the Twitter machine, but mostly I'm rarely there.
You can find me on the Twitter machine at SuperDaleBot. Oh, I forgot to mention it the last couple podcasts, but we do have a Patreon, The Dale Show. We are toying with an idea of making the update version of the show paid only version, but we'd actually have to have enough people paying for it. Otherwise, it would just be us recording something and it going nowhere anyway. So
let us know down in the comments if you do want like short form versions of these where we tighten it up and you want to pay for a quick version. Otherwise, you got to listen to the long drawn out version. Should we do that? Should we do like a tighten? I just made up a business.
No, that's actually a good idea. If we start a Patreon, I can edit out all the chit chat.
Yeah, and cut to the important points.
Yeah, like take out all the ums and ahs and like heavily edit it, which I'm too lazy to do because I don't get paid to do that. So
yeah, exactly. Pay us to make
and it would be like I'm
shorter.
Then it would be like I have a part-time job on the side.
Then you have a part-time job.
I would definitely do that.
Then you're this close to weird, sexy graphic novels about human hybrid goat.
At first I was very leery because you made it sound like it sounded like a lot more work, but you actually have stumbled upon the best idea. And then also I won't feel guilty at all about rambling because I'll be like, if you don't want us to ramble, get the premium version.
Get premium Dale Show for cheap, not on the cheap, on the expensive. You pay us for our experience.
I would also say it would be the ad-free version, but we don't have ads on this version.
Not yet.
Because we're not popular enough. But
we have
if you are watching this
watch the last episode
in the far future and we've monetized and gone back in time and monetized, then you could get this version ad-free on the Patreon.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you for joining us on the Dale Show this week.
Yeah, and if you do want to contact me, I don't have an email set up for the show. Just say something in the comments. I will get back to you somehow. Don't put your email on YouTube because then you'll just get trolls ruining your life.
We don't want that.
We'll figure out how to contact if there's something, but whatever. But until next time,
we'll see you on the internet.
Yeah.
Coming in hot on a floating boat carried by snakes.